Twilight Forest is one of the oldest and most recognized Minecraft mods. It's a fun new dimension filled with adventure, incredible sights and a variety of bosses, which makes it a prime target for every possible mod pack out there, but also results in this situation that by the time you go here, you're so hopped up on all the tech mods that none of it poses any challenge really. But what happens if you tumble into the woods on day 1, you're butt naked and your mind blank? Well, we're about to find out as I locked myself in the Twilight Forest dimension for 100 in-game days with the goal to not just boss rush it, but live a full Minecraft life. Before the timer runs out and I can go back to, you know, actual full Minecraft life. My name is LowXP and this is 100 days in the Twilight Forest. Day 1 already began with a mighty struggle, as before we can do anything in the Twilight Forest, we need to actually get to the Twilight Forest. The portal there is easy enough. You just throw a diamond into a 2x2 puddle surrounded by flowers. But first, you have to actually get that diamond. I'm afraid we'll have to do a little bit more regular old Minecrafting before we can go into the Twilight Forest. So, yeah, I'm very adamant about not cheating in this run. Or not like cheating this in. Refusing to taint the world with cheats, I spotted a nearby pillager castle and guessed that if there's anyone with money here, it's gotta be them. Naturally, with only the stone tools, I didn't stand a chance against the modded superstructure, and the locals put an end to my siege pretty quickly. This area does seem like it has a lot of pillagers in it, so it gotta have some... Oh my god, what the hell are you? Oh my god, you are quick. You are way quicker than I... What? Ow! Parry this, you filthy casual! Oh, absolutely, yes. Let's give this another go. I guess this is not a hardcore run after all. Trying the stealth route didn't work out either, as my trench through the foundation only landed me directly into the villager golem jail they had on the premises. But the golems were quickly overpowered, and so was I, on multiple occasions. All I have to do is like do this. This was the worst possible block to try that in. The entire... Ow! Why are you killing me? Robert, I thought we were friends! Ow. Please break before I... Yep, I'm getting killed. Nice. Also, like, what few tools we have made are now also in the castle, so this is gonna be, whew. Let me tell you, day 1 is not going well for me. Now, with a good dozen of deaths under my belt and day 3 on the approach, I gave up trying the fancy way and just went mining for my diamond. To my surprise, it barely took 10 minutes, rendering my previous castle adventure that much more pointless. You could also just stop at the single block of lava. Yeah, but then I won't be able to see anything. We might miss some of the stuff that we very much came here for. Diamonds? Yes, we might miss diamonds. I'm getting the diamonds. It's been 2 days. It's been 2 or 3 days already in this Minecraft world. And I'm not even in the Twilight Forest. Having sworn vengeance on the illager kind, I bid farewell to the cruel world and entered the Twilight Forest. A world far more crueler when you get down to it. Get rid of all of this, because it's not in the spirit of the challenge. And let's go! This is where I was hit with the realization that the entire premise of my quest was faulty to the core, as the Twilight Forest is tidally locked in, you know, Twilight. Spending 100 days in it is quite tricky, given that there is no day-night cycle in this dimension. On the upside, I can sleep whenever I want. And believe me, I really enjoyed the power fantasy of taking long naps. But it also means that all the day numbers in this video will be approximations based on the statistics screen that I can't access retroactively. This also meant that I can't ever end the day early. I will have to go by the full Minecraft day of 20 minutes, and with 100 days to spend here, that adds up to 33 hours of playing with this dimension. Naturally, my obsessed brain read that as only 33 hours, so I hurried it up to the nearest hollow hill to get some gear and begin my conquest. Hollow hills are the forest's answer to mining, Sure, there are caves underground, but you can find many more materials all at once inside these larger spheres of stuffs. To counteract that, they all come with unique monsters living inside, but even then, the hills themselves make for far too enjoyable a prize. Besides, the local goblins are a little bit of a pushover. Having robbed some goblins of their home and shoes, I now also had the glowstone dust to make the fiery feather and craft the magic map showing the location of the nearest bosses. Not that I needed it for the nearest Naga garden, the thing is like right there. The Naga is a giant snake, which in Minecraft naturally transforms into this angry cube string. The trick is that like it dodges you, but then it turns around and it immediately goes. It immediately goes. Oh, okay, I get you, I got your number. All the rattling and hissing couldn't help it not getting stunned against my shield, and soon enough the danger noodle was no more. One or another easy boss, but like, I am still not doing that well on health. Get killed, there we go! Goal achieved, goal reached, quest completed, defeat the Naga, hell yeah, let's go! The battle went by so easily that I decided to try doing it again, with a different Naga, and only stone sword and a shield to back me up. And wouldn't you know it, with no armor, that one was even easier, because I now knew the general vibes and patterns this glorified choo-choo train attempts. But maybe my victories were owed to something else. As I have to admit, this is where we ended up bending the rules a tad. You see, because I'm not well versed in the art of installing Minecraft mods, I didn't just duct tape Twilight Forest to vanilla Minecraft and call it a day. Instead, I was playing the better Minecraft mod pack by Lunapixel that just happens to have Twilight Forest already in it. That's why there was a pillager castle in the beginning. Basically, I planned to just ignore the rest of the mods, except for some decorative ones to make my buildings prettier. But one extra mod snuck through anyway, when I started starving and decided to harvest some giant mushrooms for the mushroom stew. The mod in question is Farmer's Delight. And as it turns out, not only does it make the soup bowls stackable, it makes them give you the comfort effect that forces your character to regenerate health as if you were full on food. As soon as I realized that, I would have called it a do-over or stopped using the soups immediately. But my Twitch chat had an incredible idea that made the whole ordeal way worth it. You see, the next boss in the Twilight Forest progression is the Lich King and his castle, and Farmer Delight mod lets you make bone broth. Being the big angry skeleton, it wouldn't be a surprise that the Lich would drop bones, and the idea of just eating the boss was way too funny to pass up. As such, I dropped off my belongings at the small hollow hill and departed to the nearest Lich Tower with a malicious intent. I like the Lich Castle a lot. It's a pretty basic idea of a wizard tower with stone and stone brick as the main materials, but sometimes simple is best with these sort of things. Besides, being filled with the spawners of the undead as well as some unique mobs more than makes up for it. I especially enjoy the haunted book tome monster that is really just a regular book flying and shooting pages at you. Their spawners even look like their own unique textured bookshelves, which is just so charming. But also the castle comes with plenty of materials for you to build and farm. From the expansive libraries that make grinding for an enchantment setup trivial, to some plants and seeds you won't have access to otherwise if you're like me and playing without the overworld. That's why this video exists at all actually. The Twilight Forest mod actually provides you almost every material you can get in the overworld, however, all the sources for them are remixed and unexpected. But I digress. The climb through the tower is just a matter of having a stack of torches. As long as you can light up the spawners and fight off some basic mobs, you'll be fine. But the Lich boss battle itself is kind of infamous amongst the players. Unlike the other monsters, you really can't just run up to the guy and punch him to death. The Lich starts out with the incredibly annoying phase where you have to deflect their own projectiles at the magical shields protecting them. All the while, there's two more invincible ghost liches also attacking you. It doesn't help that they sometimes will launch an explosive fireball to keep you on your toes, and that thing blows hard in every meaning. On top of that, this boss battle is absolutely atrocious if you're playing online, as any kind of latency will ruin your chances at bouncing the projectiles back at the Lich. We're doing it single player though, so it's not a big deal. Only a couple deaths to being blown up. Phase 2 of the Lich fight is the Lich summoning custom zombies to aid them in battle, but at this point they become very much vulnerable to blunt damage, meaning that I can just bushwhack the boss with my sword until it's over. Okay, he is now in full attack mode. He's gunning for it, he has a sword out, he's gonna shank me. Okay, just don't regenerate, okay? Yes! By one! Basically by one hit, we outplayed this guy. This is amazing. The boss drops include one of the 3 possible scepters that the Lich wields, and I got the one that summons the protective shields from phase 1, which is really cool. Personally, I like the one that summons zombie minions to aid you in battle, but I can't deny that it is strategically useless compared to the shield one. The stick itself looks like a lollipop, but I deserve some sweets after being the good boy and eating my soup. More importantly, the Lich did in fact drop a pile of bones that I quickly separated from all the other skeleton remnants so that we know which one's the soup ones. Having mixed the bone broth from the ancient wizard skeleton and literally tasted the victory, I finally realized the truest goal of the run: to kill and eat every boss of the Twilight Forest. It's alright? It's alright, that's a good lichin'. Lich that tastes even better. Yeah, exactly. It's the in the bones that really helps. Now that set on bringing the joys of soup to the populace at large, I decided to open a tavern serving only the finest wizard corpses. I can no longer excuse not having any sort of a base. So we need to get some cobblestone, we need to get some brick, we need to get some materials to build our Soup Tavern out of. The tavern build my chat named the Lich and Soupscribe Tavern for some ungodly reason took me 6 hours to complete. But boy did it come out gorgeous. Lich and Soupscribe. Pixes, you win. Good soup. Good soups all around. Never mind that, I know exactly why it took me this long to finish this building. No, it's not just that I've been using unenchanted iron and iron wood tools the entire time, though that certainly didn't help. The real reason why it took so long is this single block, the Twilight Forest exclusive wooden banister. This block has a variety of stages which you can scroll through by right-clicking it with an axe. So the extra level of detail it alone adds a significant time sink. It's incredible! Like half of this build is just banister blocks in a different shape. Doesn't help that I decided that my roof material should be the red brick, the stupid block that needs to be made out of clay balls, smelted and then crafted together for 1/4 of the output. The local swamp ran out of clay. The ecosystem may never recover from my shenanigans. But add to that the entire rest of the better Minecraft mod pack I specifically installed to use the furniture mods of, and you got a boss battle harder than whatever the final castle can dream up. My hyper-obsessed butt trying to position the plates exactly right in this glorified dollhouse. The result, however, is so well worth it. With a rustic medieval tavern that has its own basement kitchen, the dining area on the first floor, and the guest room up on the level 2, that I for the time populated by the many trophies from my misadventures. The only thing missing would be the special meal for the opening day, something to really cement our reputation as the fine dining spot. Now, admittedly, the mod actually allows you to pick which one you want to do next. The Minoshroom and the Hydra, or the Yeti Cave and the Ice Queen. But is it any wonder that I picked the Minoshroom? A massive 9 feet tall cowman cow, whose milk, meat and mushroom all wrapped up in a package? Literally a dish, side and a drink, just waiting to happen. Unfortunately, it's waiting to happen at the bottom of a sprawling labyrinth under the monster-infested swamp. The maze leading up to the boss is quite the nightmare, but luckily I possess a unique skill of getting lost in exactly the right way that leads to progressively worse enemies. Okay, can you, Thank you. This is one of my favorite things, is that solving the maze by blowing it up. If you think that like, oh wow, he's placing the torches always on the same side of the wall, that's not intentional. Also, yes, I don't have any system to the way I place my torches, I'm so sorry. Local minotaurs proved to be not much of a fight, actually. It's the beetles that spawn across the labyrinth that were the true boss battle. They do be running. Ah. I just knocked them out of the way! I just freaking knocked them, ow, out of the way. Pincher beetles were actually nerfed quite significantly, as it turns out. The fire ones are absolutely insane though. I also got a healthy supply of leaf steel armor and maze wafers from the chests across the labyrinth. By the way, most of the treasure chests here are trapped with TNT and explode unless you disarm them just right. Luckily, I didn't get any exploding on me, but then again, I haven't encountered that many. Once I found the boss itself, I found out that it no longer is stopped by blocks being placed in front of it. Frankly afraid to tango with an angry cowman twice my size, I opened with a hasty retreat. That's when the TNT I got from the disarmed traps came in handy. I managed to not only lure the Minoshroom into an explosion, but the blast set off nearby trapped treasure chest, and the cumulative kaboom cut the boss's health in half. Oh crap. So the thing about that is that entire room is TNT. Oh crap. Ah, shoot. Well, we got half of him done. God damn it, that was so close. That was so close. From there, I just strategically stabbed the guy through the surrounding detritus. Turns out, the walls of the labyrinth, while nearly impossible to break by hand, have the blast resistance of toilet paper. He has like one stab in him. Die! Nope, okay, not one stab, more than one stab, more than one stab, retreat! There we go. Now he dead. Woo! What do we get? Diamond Minotaur Axe. We get Myth Stroganoff, which was the entire point. Fun fact, I don't know how to get out. Back and still with no client to order the Minoshroom stew, I sampled one of the 2 bowls that the boss gives you and was met with the realization that this playthrough is rapidly approaching the plot of Delicious in Dungeon. Now reinvigorated, I decide to see if the blood of the Hydra boss can be drunk by mere mortals. But first I needed to severely resupply, as the Minotaur axes have pretty much annihilated whatever armor I had left by now. No longer being able to rely on the armor I found in treasure chests, as it was constantly breaking on me, I decided to go to the biggest hollow hill and rob it of all of its valuables. On my way there, I actually discovered something brand new I haven't seen before. A place literally called the Spooky Biome. With orange grass and very autumn themed, this place couldn't be more perfect. But unfortunately, it couldn't be my home after all. The normal surface spawns for the Spooky Biome are spiders and skeletons, and I am not about that life. Maybe if I had more days still left to spare, I would have started my secondary base in here, but alas, we'll have to leave it for the potential sequel. I just didn't have the time for both another build and what I have planned for the Hollow Hill. And what I have planned for the Hollow Hill was a mob farm. It cost me a good double-digit amount of deaths, but I successfully lit up every spawner in the biggest Hollow Hill without destroying a single one. A lot of help came from the item I found in the treasure chest in here, the Moonworm Queen. This item essentially works as a bow and shoots moonworms, little silly bugs that light up the area. It is essentially a bow that shoots torches, and it's completely overpowered when lighting up spawners. The idea was to scout out if I had any double or triple spawners in this hill that I could use to grind up XP for enchantments. All I got for now though were some diamonds, but even that should be enough to take on the Hydra and win. After all, gotta test how shiny rocks stand up against Fire Snake. Okay, just gonna yoink more diamonds. I'm glad that we're doing this instead of like killing the Hydra, because if I'm struggling this much with the hollowed hill, then I can only imagine how bad the actual Hydra would have just nuked me. Anyway, I'm ready, let's go. Leroy Jenkins indeed. He said without the shield. Well, turns out I was worried for nothing. Since the fight with the Hydra was pretty much a joke, just running in and circle strafing the animal completely negated any and all fire attacks the three-headed dragon could try. I could even send its own projectiles back at it from this position. Look at this scary idiot spewing flames and explosives, and would you believe it, that the best strategy is to run up and give it a hug? In fact, the only 2 times I died in this fight were when I actually tried to play it safe and shoot it with my bow. So hey! Woo! To my surprise, the Hydra blood was not used for drinking. You are actually expected to use it to enhance your iron armor, but the beast does drop Hydra chops, unique food that restores the entirety of your food bar. This of course went on the tavern menu as soon as I came home. The menu of Lich soup, Hydra chops, and Minoshrooms too, which unfortunately, like, we only have one bowl. With my diamond supply still sparse, I decided to take a stab at the Goblin Knight stronghold. Another underground structure hidden away in the Darkwood biome. Not hidden well, mind you. The cobblestone ceiling of this one room was sticking out right by the river. You actually aren't able to break any blocks in it until you kill either the Hydra or the Ice Queen. You need to place their trophy on the pedestal at the surface to come in and be able to access the boss room. The Hydra head provided me passage, but not before a giant spider jumped out and chased me out of the woods. Name tagged King Spider, it even had a shaman skeleton riding it. That was the most startling jump scare this mod has given me yet, and no joke, I still have no idea what actually made it happen. The Knightly Stronghold is up there on the list of my favorite places, primarily because of the really nice brick it's built with. I always wanted to do something with it, but it doesn't have a stair and slab variant, so I can't even use it to texturize my roof. My second goal here was to get some of the cool night metal armor that the goblins were wearing. Each enemy only drops barely a nugget of it, but luckily the Shellmet Crabs actually have a double spawner in every stronghold. You just have to find it and have the patience to babysit it. A nice bonus is that the crabs also drop cod, and I could really use some sort of a food besides the mushrooms I've been chopping by hand. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate how freaking cool the Shellmet Crabs are? They are hermit crabs that use helmets as their little shells. So they are shell helmet crabs. That I just think it's really cute. And this has been your hermit crab recap. Trying to farm them actually turned out to be a mistake, since the night metal armor, while almost as good as diamond, has pretty low durability without the enchantments. So the boss battle left me with just some nice looking armor that would certainly break if I sneezed too hard. It does look really nice though, so I put it into the trophy attic. The Phantom Knight boss itself was a lot of fun, but ultimately just a lot of running up and stabbing. I wasn't too good at dodging the wavy ghost armor attack, but there really wasn't any trick to it, and eventually I had myself the nice trophy skull, as well as its helmet and a chest plate. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't understand what just happened. I did consider briefly putting the Phantom's ashes into a protein shaker and chugging it vigorously, but the game simply wouldn't let me. Oh well, I still had plenty of fish from the double spawner of crabs, so consider this boss also eaten. At 29 levels after the tragic crab rave massacre of 2023, it's about time I actually tried enchanting any of my gear. I've gotten mighty sick of it breaking on me by now. Luckily, steel leaf pickaxes are basically diamond, they just have less durability, so getting obsidian for the enchantment table wasn't an issue, and the diamonds I already had. As for the bookshelves, well, that Lich Tower is mysteriously vacant after somebody ate the owner, so I see no harm in stripping it for parts. For extra humiliation, I harvested the books by blowing them up with the dynamite I got from the Minoshroom maze. Now, I just needed a reliable source of experience that preferably wasn't crabs. Luckily, my lit up Hollow Hill was still standing with the allure of triple spawners. My play was more clever though, because even without the spawners, a large variety of creatures spawns naturally in these hills. So all I really had to do is build a box with a lot of darkness on the inside, then let whatever happens appear and drop on me for a swift and delicious death. How are you alive? It does spawn, logically speaking. Of course it does, like why wouldn't it? With extra finagling and swearing the entire way, I even managed to attach a toggleable water stream to flush the monsters out and into a kill chamber. The best part about the entire situation is of course that the spawn rate produces kobolds. The blue teddy bears that are only a little less scary than baby zombies. When killed, kobolds drop wheat, making this the perfect farm for my tavern as I introduce freshly home-baked bread to the menu. The victory of redstone engineering was short-lived. In the mob harvesting pit, something or other triggered a creeper, and the explosion took out a significant chunk of the farm, even though the creeper should have been in the water and unable to knock out any of the blocks. The hollow hill immediately got flooded with monsters, and I was forced to haul ass from the best idea I ever had. Unfortunately for everyone involved, this only reinvigorated the inventor in me. Having realized that I can avoid any creeper spawns by just making the spawn platform 1.5 block tall, I plugged up the entire system. The logic was that with only 1 block tall mobs being able to spawn, only kobolds will appear in the farm. Little did I know, every beetle in the mob was also 1 block tall. As such, I was left with a box that exclusively made cave spiders, slime beetles, the goddamn fire beetles, and redcap miners. So that's a mob grinder filled with non-stop that they make. Still, this arrangement was actually fine by me, as by now there was no other monster more deserving of death in my eyes. Through slaughtering box after box of beetles, I have acquired a sharpness 5 looting free sword, as well as a chest full of coal from the redcap goblins. Also quite some gunpowder, because that's what the fire beetles drop. At least there's one good thing about them. I have so much gunpowder, I have 4 stacks of gunpowder now. On the upside, I have extracted every single diamond in this guild and was now wearing it on my chest. I look atrocious, but I can kill anyone who dares laugh. On the downside, I am now 90 days into a 100 days video, and there's still half the bosses out there uneaten. Now was the time to get serious, and very, very fast. I still am not sure how I'm gonna grind up the final castle itself into a thin powder and snort it.
What now?
Well, I eaten every single other boss, and there isn't a boss in the final castle. So the only way I see this playing out is we grind it up into fine dust, we mix it up into kind of a cement-like mixture, and we just eat that. First in the final boss rush is the Alpha Yeti boss, living in the snowy biome. And to say it didn't pose a threat is to say nothing. The regular Yetis don't even do any damage, they only can throw you in the air and let gravity break your shins. Doesn't help that their big man is a giant crybaby, literally. Approaching, but after this temper tantrum, it starts crying, and that's where you kind of feel bad about it, but also start killing him. There we go. So the only time it actually got a drop on me was when I literally looked away from the screen to read some Discord DMs. See, it's a unique... Oh my god, he has diamonds? He has bling? He has blingies! Anyway, yeah, you can tell how like engaged I am with this... Ow! That was pretty stupid actually of me. How did that happen? Good job, Furball. You now get a primer on Revenge Zloy, the scorching flame of salt. I ran out of arrows. I might have grabbed the wrong quiver. Hey! Okay, we got him. We got his ice buffs. We got his Alpha Yeti trophy. This is amazing. Awesome. I feel so embarrassed having died to this boss. It is just stupid. Now wearing the Alpha Yeti's face as a helmet, I got to climb in the glacier wall that leads to my next victim. Or at least it usually does. For some reason, this time the giant wall of ice that the Ice Queen's castle usually resides on was actively melting right before my eyes. The top of the glacier didn't bode well either. Poor cute penguins! I can only assume it's the global warming that got here. And if it did, cool, I can just drink this boss. So knowing penguins are aquatic. Oh yeah, now... what I'm about to do has not been approved by the Vatican behavior, but... yoink. Well, turns out the melting biome was just an omen, because after I finally backstroked to the Aurora Castle, no room actually led inside. The only entrance led to a quick dead end, and the blocks the keep is made of are incredibly slow to dig. And also, the walls are double thick. If I were to press on and try to find my way to the boss room, I was at risk of running through the final day before I so much as saw an enemy. 30, we have 3 hours left. Oh no. Darn it. This is a frustrating situation. We could focus the Ur-Ghast right now. We could try and go focus the Ur-Ghast, and that would at the very least help me to the... No. Nope! Okay, I'm alive, and really, if I only had time for one boss, I'd rather it be the Ur-Ghast. So I came back to the tavern, sorted my inventory, and head out to the tower in the dark woods. The mobs in the woods were pretty deadly last I visited, so I settled for the patented Dark Woods the video game method, and simply set the canopy on fire. Yeah, the fire is spreading, but it's spreading across like regular woods. It's not spreading across The dark wood, look. Thick dark wood leaves. Yeah, this stuff is freaking not impenetrable. Unfortunately, the leaves of the deep woods seem to not spread any fire. Only logs ended up disappearing. So I had to settle for plan B and climb on top of the canopy and just run up there with no danger of monsters until I finally reached the dark tower. This is my absolute favorite structure in this mod. Imposing, gothic and evil. It is filled to the brim not just with the enemies, but puzzles, unique items and most importantly, technology. If you are playing with no overworld or nether, this is where you can get all of the potion supplies, a few vanilla nether blocks and also it teaches you redstone. There's piston double extenders at the Carmelite reactors and redstone lamps in every other room. There's also 10 kinds of threads, horrible ghast spawns and hostile iron golems too, but it's worth it. You also get all sorts of plants in here, look, they all even added azalea in here. It's not immediately this freaking beetle here. Are you kidding me with this? Hate you! No! 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 What I didn't realize was also here is the Blaze King from the original Minecon vote. It actually isn't part of the original Twilight Forest, it's just that the better Minecraft mod pack I'm running did have it as part of the Adventures mod. Oh my god! This is not even from the Twilight mod, this is... Okay, cool, fun. I think I just shot my only 2 arrows. So I got jump scared and almost killed by a monster I never even seen before and didn't know existed. If not for the life charm I picked up from a treasure chest just a room ago, I would certainly have died. Really? This is where you put the tower key. The tower entrance, right? Really? This? Okay, we can actually damage the boy. Alright. Unexpected Blaze King boss battle? Oh crap. Wow, that was anticlimactic. But at the very least, we, you know, weird hill to die on, but at least you're dead. But eventually, I made it to the roof where the Ur-Ghast spawns. And to say it was breathtaking is to say nothing. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Not just from the tension, but like... To me, this is like one of the coolest things in Minecraft. It's so rooted... Oh, crap. Oh, they changed the texture for it. Oh, no! I don't know why this boss has such a grab on me, but I absolutely adore it. Even if the acid tears attack it does, feels a little overpowered at times. Crap, I am not doing well with the tears. This is like the coolest boss battle, but it is bogged down quite significantly by having to actually wait. Same as its health pool. That the Ur-Ghast, mind you, can also regenerate if you fail to kill the little ghaslings it spawns. Now, what you're meant to do is slaughter the tiny ghasts by the dozen while being near one of the 4 ghast traps spread in the smaller towers. Once these traps are charged, you can activate them via redstone and pull the boss to your level, also massively damaging it. We need more ghasts. We need to feed it more ghosts! Okay. The Ur-Ghast needs to be already in range of the trap though, and I only found that out the hard way after wasting a few charges. Also, the ghaslings you need to recharge the trap only spawn every now and again, and in the meantime, I have completely run out of arrows in my inventory. Now I had no way of damaging the boss, or so I thought. Checking my inventory, I suddenly found the same Moonworm Queen I found in the Hollow Hill. So, for the good half of the remaining boss battle, I was there, shooting the Queen of Ghasts with glowworms. Yes! Moonworm! To the rescue! I have 500 of these! I don't think they're doing any damage at all. They barely did any damage, by the way, but I could bounce her on fireballs back. The sheer hilarity of the situation has given me the second wind to figure out the now mostly blown up ghast traps and ghost bust the boss for good, earning the trophy and some fiery tears to boost. Oh, there's another one. Yes! Oh my god, hell yes! No arrows! I mean, I had some arrows, but no arrows anymore. Oh my god. This is incredible. We got fiery tears. Sip, 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 drink it up. Neither turned out to be edible, unfortunately, but in the treasure chest of the tower, I did find mysterious cake only labeled as Experiment 115. So even the tavern menu quest got completed after all, even if I'm not entirely sure whose meat is in the cake or why it keeps regenerating. That is actually something I never knew before. You can place the Experiment 115 cake on the ground like as a block, and if you have enough slices for a full cake, you can sprinkle redstone on it, and now, whenever you eat a slice, the cake will eventually regenerate back to its full form. Okay, I'm just gonna go here. Please don't kill me. Nope! Well, this plan was way better in my head than it actually is! Now, with only so much time left on the clock, I had only one boss left to tackle, the Ice Queen. Going for the same one as the last time would be a fool's errand, since I didn't know if I could break my way through the tower even with the fastest of tools. But I did grab every block of dynamite I had, and remember, the fire beetles provided me with quite a supply of gunpowder. I'm gonna bring with me quite a bit of dynamite, just in case, you know, just in case that one turns out to be not horrible. And if it does, we blow it up. No horses generate in the Twilight Forest, and I didn't have a saddle for a pig, so I had to really book it in hopes to find the next glacier biome. This one turned out to be also melting, so that's a disturbing thought. Snow Queen is kind of like just a sadder version of a lich. This time I didn't hit a dead end. If anything, I actually got lost navigating the boss tower. But even still, I had neither the patience nor the time for the Castle Aurora shenanigans. I just placed some TNT at a wall and let it rip. And rip it did. The blocks here turned out to be not any more blast-proof than your regular stone, so I simply broke out into the fresh air and pillared up to a higher balcony. Luckily, the queen doesn't have ghasts patrolling her tower like the Ur-Ghasts did, otherwise this maneuver would probably be a mistake. Coincidentally, my point of re-entry just happened to be only a room away from the boss arena. Oh my god, yes, okay, cool. Cool. I did set my spawn, but it was like so low and I will not be able to climb back. Let's try and first attempt her. Grant her the privilege of a swift death. And soon I was faced with the Ice Queen herself. And look, it's not her fault that the other castle generated wrong, but I had a long day and I'm cutting it real close to the end of the timer here. So yeah, I explained her politely but kindly about all the benefits of letting the peasants eat cake. Very pretty, but also annoying. Are you trying to bullet hell me? I'll just shoot you, you know? I'll just kill you with like regular bullets. You actually have to be a little more patient around this boss, because the Queen's Cloud prevents her from being damaged from below. Not that I care. It's her head I want, not her feet. So I'm fine dodging until she drops to my level. That being said, I made it sure that the final blow was delivered via dynamite. What are we doing? What are we doing? Up! No! My sword! I destroyed my sword! Where did my sword come from? I killed her with dynamite! Yes! We freaking blew her up. Awesome, we get tri-bow. And yes, I will tri-bow. And so, with 2 full days to spare, I have beaten every single boss the Twilight Forest had to offer, and ate about most of them. I returned to the tavern, finished the guest room, rearranged the trophy attic, and invited to stay the one penguin I saved from the glacier meltdown. It may be a shame that I didn't have time to go to the highlands, to do all the troll caves or Giant's Cloud, but really, none of them really are bosses, and they really just lead to the final castle, which still is unfinished and not really beatable. Besides, I had my own final castle in mind for this playthrough. Remember the pillagers from the first day? Yeah, now that my 100 days in the Twilight Forest are over, I came back to the overworld with all the gear I have acquired, with one goal and one goal only: to eradicate every single pillager within my sight. None of them stood a chance. Not a single one. Their swords and axes simply couldn't break through the night metal shield I made out of crab parts that didn't even take durability damage from their attacks. Sure, their numbers were great, but nothing they could throw at me held a candle to the tri-bow I got from the Ice Queen that tripled every arrow I shot. Even their evokers couldn't do anything to me because my own magic was stronger. Their vexes just bounced off the shields I would summon with the Lich's scepter, and by that time it would be too late. The hardest armor of the pillager kind wasn't strong enough to rival the soup running through my veins. Wave after wave they sent their best at me, and all they accomplished is knocking off my helmet, simply so I can replace it with the witch hat from one of their corpses. And all of it was worth it. Especially the witch hat. Maybe next time I will spend 100 days as a witch. After all, what is a potion if not soup persevering? And that's my 100 days in the Twilight Forest. Actually, first ever 100 days video I ever made. How did you like it? In retrospect, it is incredible how much of this mod has been updated and also how much of it still holds up. So if you know any other mods like it, let me know in the comments, I would be happy to give them a try. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm sorry, I gotta go, I have a soup on the stove.